Hello and welcome to On Fire here on Daily Mirror Online. Our guests on this program have so far been politicians and diplomats, or those linked in some way to local politics. However, today we have a very special guest to discuss a movie on very sensitive topics. The movie was shot in Sri Lanka and has a mostly Sri Lankan cast. The movie is based on the book Funny Boy, written by Shyam Selvadurai, and the director of that movie is critically acclaimed film director and screenwriter Deepa Mehta. Deepa is joining us via Zoom from Canada. Hello, Deepa. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Easwaran. It's a pleasure to be here talking with you.
So, Deepa, I was privileged to have had a sneak peek of the movie Funny Boy before it was released in public. The movie looks at sensitive issues here in Sri Lanka. I know you have been asked this question over and over again. But Deepa, let me ask you anyway, why did you choose Funny Boy?
First of all, Easwaran, the film has not been finished as yet. What you saw a sneak preview of was a film that's still in progress. The film will be finished, I think, completely with the sound editing and everything else in about a week's time. So you got a sneak peek of a film in progress. So I want to make that clear. And secondly, I was attracted to the book. The book is written by a Sri Lankan writer called Shyam Selvadurai, as you said, who is half Tamil, half Sinhala, who grew up as a young boy who was dealing with how to deal with his own sexuality in Sri Lanka. And so that is about how one deals with somebody who is different, or what we call the other. So the other extended in the book, which is what I loved about the book, from a young boy dealing with his sexuality, the way people treat him because of his sexuality, as well as what happens when anybody is marginalized, whether it's a community or whether it's a young boy or a young girl, because of whether it's sexual leanings or whether it's their racial leanings or whether it's their race or whether it's their language. So it's all this has always interested me as a topic, whether it's been like, ironically, your program, whether it was in fire, whether it was in water, dealing with what happens to Hindu widows. In fact, the young lead of Water was a Sinhala girl, because we shot Water in Sri Lanka. Whether it was the film Earth, which was about the conflict of Hindus and Muslims. And whether it's domestic violence, these are subjects that have intrigued me, that I feel as a woman, as somebody who wants to tell stories that actually concern me and I think are about humanity, was very important. And I think Funny Boy, if anything, is a film about wanting people to actually say, yes, there are differences, but humanity should prevail. So it's a book of hope, finally.
And see, I mean, these issues on minority rights, the issues faced by the Tamils in Sri Lanka, the issues faced by the LGBT community in Sri Lanka. I mean, these are things that often draw negative publicity, be it in Colombo or even outside. When making this film, how did it feel? How did it feel like, you're bringing out an issue which is going to be spoken of a lot?
I'll tell you, if we start making things that we feel that might be unpopular, we would stop making films. Or then these are different kinds of films to make. I'm not saying that I chose this film because I said, oh my God, it's a negative film. No, I chose it because I think it's a positive film. If anything, a dialogue needs to be started within the community, outside the community, about what happened. So if, as a filmmaker, I can help start a dialogue, it's not my fight, it's not my country, but I'm a human being. And this concerns me. Minority oppressions concern me wherever they might be, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in Canada, whether it's in India, whether it's in Rwanda, whether it's in Turkey. Whether it's in Syria, what's happening right now, whether what happens to people who try and get a boat ride from Yemen to Lesbos, it concerns us all. At some point, what's happening in the States concerns us. At some point, we have to stop thinking of me and start thinking of us. That's what the idea was.
So you feel that this movie would probably, create a sense of need where the Sri Lankans themselves would probably want to address these issues in future?
I hope so. I mean, I hope it's not just, I mean, all Sri Lankans, whether they're Tamils or whether they're Burghers or whether they're Sinhalese or whether they're Muslims. I mean, we have to, it's like in India. I mean, we are all hybrids, or whether it's in Canada. What is Canada? Canada is composed of immigrants. You know, it really is. Yes, there is the white, elitist crowd, but there's the indigenous crowds, there's the black crowds, there's the Asians. We all are a part of Canada. So yes, I would like a dialogue to happen, and whether it was in fire, it isn't always positive, but at least the biggest thing for me, what happened, Easwaran, in fire, was that when the government shut it down, that there was a big protest outside a cinema hall called Regal in New Delhi, where there were women, thousands and hundreds of women, carrying placards that said, "We are Indians and we are lesbians." You see, because the whole thing was being denied that there are any lesbians in India. So if it takes out the pain that people feel or the problems that they might have, or it starts a dialogue and they say, "Oh my God, why was a Sinhalese, why are there so many Sinhalese in the film? Or why aren't there?" There's a reason, If you can start talking about that, that would be fantastic. Why are Tamils perhaps in Sri Lanka, because we auditioned so many of them, why were they apprehensive of being in a homosexual film? Because they still are actually, when you think about it, they still are a very vulnerable group. They don't want to be in the limelight because they don't know what's going to happen to them. That's the
That's
reality.
interesting. So you approached actually quite a few Tamils to appear.
Oh, absolutely! Oh my God, we've got audition tapes, and not only approached many Tamils in Colombo, but also many Sri Lankan Tamils in Toronto. Many, I think that, and in London and in New York City, and some of the ones in. I found two really good actors in Toronto. Sadly, one of them was getting married, and so he couldn't come, and the other was a refugee, and he couldn't get a visa. And it's it's interesting. When I first came to Canada a long time ago, and I did my first film called Sam and Me, and I was looking for Indian actors settled in Canada, and everybody was sort of amused that they said, "Are you insane? No Asians, no Southeast Asians from India come to Canada to become actors. They come to become lawyers, they come to become engineers, they come to become doctors." Because I think it's a generational thing. Maybe in the next generation or even in the younger generation now, in the Tamil diaspora, there will be people who will say we can embrace the arts. But the first thing is not always the arts. They always take the second thing. So I was lucky that I got two really good Sri Lankan Tamils. But sadly, one had a refugee, like I said, and that's what happens. And the ones in Colombo, it was very interesting. There were two who were really good, but they had only been acting, though they're much more prevalent in theatre. In film, they always act as villains, which again says something about what's happening in Sri Lanka and what's happening to Tamils in Sri Lanka. And the other thing was that they were slightly apprehensive about being associated with a book and a film that had a gay topic.
So it was
And
more about
that's something that you should ask yourselves. Why? And I think it's valid because you are a vulnerable community. The film is pro-Tamil. The film is about the oppression of Tamils and what makes you vulnerable. So if a topic starts a dialogue starts, then I'll say, how wonderful. And the dialogue might, as usual, I might be the face of getting bashed up as usual, but it doesn't matter. You say, okay, as long as the dialogue starts.
What was the environment like for you when you were shooting this film in Sri Lanka?
First of all, it took us 1 year to get permission. We got, it took, yeah, the film team, which is wonderful, tried to get which is our local team. And it was David McKinnon who really helped us. We didn't get permission for 6 months, and then we were refused permission, so we took a year to get permission.
You were refused permission because of the topic that you were covering?
Which is interesting. They said that first of all, they said that they really didn't think that it was a correct depiction of Sri Lanka, which is sort of interesting because first of all, it's based on a novel. Secondly, it's based on a novel that has been translated into Sinhala and Tamil and has been taught in the University of Colombo. So I think that there was a lot of turmoil in between. It was shifting governments, nobody knew what was happening, and everybody was basically saying that they didn't want to create any controversy. Though the book is beloved, so I don't understand that. And the script has been co-written by Sham as well.
Were you frustrated at any point when you said 1 year? Were you frustrated at some point that you felt, okay, that's it, maybe I need to just give this up and go somewhere else?
Not really, because I was committed. I was committed to, whether anybody wants it or not. It's a commitment to what I believe in. So yeah, there were points where I said, "Who needs this?" It's like, "Oh my God, I'm only human." But then there was the feeling, a real commitment from the actors, which are varied actors. Some are Tamil, some are Sinhalese, some are Burghers, some are Muslims, but they're all Sri Lankans, and their passion. These are young people, and their passion to want some kind of harmony in their country was huge. And that's important. I think that you guys are the ones who live in your country. You want peace, you want equality. It's easier for people who are outside to say, no, we don't want this, or we don't want that, and this has to be right, or that has to be right. It always happens with the diaspora. I mean, I know it as an Indian, that if we care so much, we should be back in our country and fighting for it there, not here.
And what is the reaction of the diaspora been? I mean, there are a lot of Sri Lankans in Canada. The trailer.
Nobody's seen the film. Nobody has seen the film. The film hasn't been
the trailer is out. Have they are they eager to watch this? Have they said anything?
The trailer is out, and some people are complaining that that the American trailer didn't have enough Tamil in it, and some people had complained that the two actors who were featured prominently in the trailer, in the American trailer, were fair-skinned, and no Tamils are fair-skinned. So that's not true, as we all know, because I've spent a long time. Some are not, but that's irrelevant. So some people are really excited about the film because they see the larger message. The message is oppression of minorities. It's not the color of your skin or who is talking Tamil in a bad accent or whatever, So who knows? Nobody's seen it. Maybe 3 Tamil people have seen it in the diaspora. Nobody else has seen it.
And this film is coming out on Netflix on December 10th.
Yes.
Are you excited? Are you eagerly waiting for it to air?
I'm very excited because I think that Easwaran, it's so important that people don't judge you by a trailer, or don't judge you because of gossip, or somebody. That is, I want Sri Lankans to see it. I want the world to see it. I want the world to see, it took one film, which is called Hotel Rwanda, for people to understand what happened in Rwanda with the Hutsi and the Tutsis. It takes one film like Garam Hawa, which is one of the most amazing films that was done in India about the partition of India and Pakistan, for the world to realize what the pain is to be a minority and to be oppressed. So I think that instead of people just talking about it ad nauseum, it would be really nice if I say, thank God, please see it, and then make a judgment. That's all. So I'm very eager for that.
In Sri Lanka, we usually see movies, premiering in cinemas. It's very rare that we see a movie coming out on something like Netflix, and Netflix itself is something that's still catching up here in Sri Lanka. Why Netflix and not like a movie theater?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't think that we have a distributor. We don't have a distributor for Sri Lanka. So if you know of one, please tell us.
And
Recommend it. Say this film has to be in movie halls. That would be lovely. We don't have a distributor in India either, but we have. The film is opening in India at a Human Rights Film Festival. It's the opening film, which is absolutely the right venue for a film like this because it is about human rights. If it's Sri Lankan human rights, it has to be about Indian human rights too. It has to be about American human rights. Human rights belong to all of us, to humanity, And I'm very fond of quoting my favorite director, the Spanish director Luis Buñuel. He said that the minute a film is particular is the very minute it becomes universal. So yes, Funny Boy is a very particular film. It is set in Sri Lanka. It's about the oppression of Tamil minorities. It's about the oppression of being gay and choosing your own sexuality. But it's also a universal film because your problems are also other people's problems.
And talk to us about the cast in the movie. We saw people like Nimi and Brandon. How did it come about? How did you pick these people?
Nimi I had seen in Good Karma Hospital and I thought she was fantastic. So though we'd auditioned many, not many, about three Sri Lankan women to play Amma, I thought she was the best. So, you go for, as a director, I go for the person who I think could represent the film the best. And for Brandon, it was far more difficult to find older RG because both Sham and myself really wanted somebody who was gay and had come out. Because if you have a straight guy playing a gay guy, then you'll have a whole lot of people talking about representation and saying, how can you do that? So it was to find the right person who had come out and was proud of being who he is, which is queer, in a society where actually homosexuality and queerness is still illegal, is a crime, was extremely important. Would it have been terrific if he was a Tamil instead of a burgher? Yes, but not at the expense of performance.
And this film has been selected by Canada for the Oscars. What was that feeling? I mean, I know we discussed this on a separate interview once as well. But what was the feeling like when you got to know that Canada had picked this for the Oscars?
I was thrilled that Canada had selected Funny Boy. I mean, and so was Sham. I mean, I don't know who was more excited, Sham or myself. I mean, this book was written by Sham 24 years ago. And it's semi-autobiographic, I feel. And it is so close to him because his family came to Canada as refugees. And that whole journey is so close to him in many ways. It's his first book. And for 24 years, nobody picked it up. I mean, no Tamil film director or producer said, I'm going to make this film. Because I think it's quintessentially a Canadian film. Because I say it very often as a filmmaker that if India gives me my stories, Canada gives me the freedom to express them. And I think that's what happened with Sham. The story is quintessentially Sri Lankan, but Canada did give him the license or the freedom to express them. So it feels right that it should be Canada's representation.
And how does it feel? I mean, you picked right along, I mean, at least from the movies that I know of, I mean, we just spoke about water, fire, and so on, and then now Funny Boy. You know, the fact that these movies are making waves, you know, for you as a director, how does it feel that you're touching on very sensitive topics, and you know, is this the path that you see yourself going even ahead?
I don't know. I mean, I must be a sucker for punishment. It's not, I really, I think about it and I say, Deepa, you're really dumb. I mean, who needs this? Who needs it's not, who needs being so vulnerable? But I think that it's not that I'm sort of like, I feel that I have message or anything. But the reality is, these are the stories that interest me. Oppression of women interests me. And I wonder where it came from. And oppression of anybody who wants to be themselves really, really upsets me. And how society actually maligns their own is fascinating to me. Why do we do it? This is about us. Why are we so self-destructive? Why didn't Biden win by a complete blue wave? Why is Trumpism still alive, even though thank God he isn't, and hopefully he'll leave the White House. But what happens? Why do we divide ourselves? What is it about human beings? So that interests me. I don't sit around and say, okay, let me choose a film that's going to create waves. I don't think that. I think, oh my God, look at this poor little girl who's 8 years old and who's a widow. What is her life like? Why is she a widow? Why, instead of playing, hopscotch with friends, has she been sent to a widow's home? What is a widow's home? Why can't two women fall in love with each other? What's wrong with that? What is wrong with two boys, young boys, innocent boys falling in love with each other in Funny Boy? What is wrong with expressing that more than anything else, Funny Boy is about oppression of Tamils? I'm just curious. So I'm not a sucker for punishment, but I'm definitely a sucker for being curious. Maybe that's.
Have you already started thinking about your next movie as well?
Are you kidding? I want to take a rest for the next year. I don't want to think about anything. You know what I want to do, Eastern? I want to read murder mysteries. I want to see really, really fun movies. And I want to sleep a lot. That's what I want to do.
Are you planning on maybe in the future doing more movies in Sri Lanka?
Like you said, you said, I'll never forget it. You said, aren't you apprehensive about coming, because this film is going to maybe not make you very popular with the Sinhalese because it's so pro-Tamil. Uh, if they let me come, yes, I would love to.
Great, Deepa. It was really nice talking to you, and we wish you all the best. And we're looking forward to the release of Funny Boy very soon.
Thank you so much, Isran. A pleasure always. Thank you.
Yes.